Hello everybody and welcome to Going for Goldbridge. Hope you're all doing very well today. I've forgotten what day it is. Is it day 8, day 9, day 10? We will have all of those to come, of course, but I hope you're all doing well. I would say today I feel quite tired today, if I'm honest with you. I would, but it's interesting, isn't it? Because I do think there's a lot of people moaning at the moment, and I get it. People are going to exert their frustration and isolation issues in different ways, but I just feel that, you know, and this is really ironic because I obviously do a United football fan channel where I talk about performances and say that's not good enough, but I do always want us to be good, and when we are good I will be positive. And I just feel that we do live in a society at the moment which is very judgmental. There is a lot of negativity. We're always trying to find fault in things, and I just think, you know, I listened to Boris Johnson's chat last night, his announcement to the nation, and I was inspired by it. And then a lot of people are inspired by it, but then I wake up this morning and old Piers and all these bloody blue tickers are there finding criticism in it. And I'm like, you know, I actually heard him say something along the lines of, and I've heard a few other people say it, I've never known such lack of clarity from a government around a crisis. And I was like, but this is an unprecedented, overwhelming pandemic of like we've never seen in 100 years. So how can you judge it against anything? And how do you expect a Prime Minister to address the nation in 10 minutes and cover every eventuality about whether girlfriends and boyfriends can see each other, whether these workers should go to work or not? We've got to come together on this, and we've got to accept that there will be mistakes and there will be lack of clarity because this is unprecedented. And I think these people expect... I mean, it almost feels like to me, like there are people out there using their followers and their blue ticks because they think they can do a better job. They always almost want to be a celebrity Prime Minister. Well, unfortunately, Brexit did get voted for. This government did get voted in for 5 years, and this is what we have. And I think a lot of what's going on is good, and I think there will be a lot that's bad because we're just in an unknown territory. But we're living a life with barriers, and I don't think people like that. And this reminds me of a funny story, actually. Well, you might not find it funny, but I definitely did. So when I used to live in Ireland, we used to have these... we did used to go to the pub, but we always used to have... I mean, considering I lived in Ireland between the age of 18 and 23, that I didn't live there for that whole time, but I used to go out over quite a lot before I moved there. And what would basically happen is every Saturday night, people would go out because that's your age to do that. A lot of people were sort of students at that age. So we would always end up... Nobody had loads of money, but people... To be fair, a lot of the people I hung around with were quite wealthy because that was just where I ended up moving over to, because the girl I was with was from quite a well-off family. Cash back. But seriously, though, and so on a Saturday night, there was always a house party somewhere. Like, you'd never know where it was going to be, but there was always a house party. And you'd go to the house party, and then at about sort of 11:30, people would go down the pub for a couple of drinks, then come back to the house party. It was just the way it was. So people would just be around and I don't know how it used to work, because there was always somebody's parents away that you could have a house party. There was always a house party. So, and it was always seemed to be the same 5 or 6 houses as well. Anyway, to cut a long story short, we would always be drinking within this house, and there'd always be about, I would say, 40 people in the house, and it would tend to be the same set of lads and the same set of girls with, you know, a bit of rotation. Some people were in relationships, some people wouldn't, and, you know, naturally, most of the time there would be sort of groups split off, certain lads, certain girls, and sometimes there'd be a bit of a mix. Anyway, we're outside in the garden, one of these things, and it was sort of like early evening in the summer. It was starting to get a little bit dark, and people were just coming in and outside this patio door. One of the lads' girlfriend was inside, and one of the other lads was like, "Your I can't remember. I'm not going to name her in case she watches, but your girlfriend is really on it tonight. She's really being flirtatious with other lads and stuff like that." And the lad was like, I don't really know what to do. We had a bit of it falling out on the way in, and she's had a few drinks already at home, and I think she's just trying to prove a point. Anyway, we sort of forgot about it. Then she comes out and she's like really rude to everybody, like really rude. And then she sort of goes to him, and you know what? You're not much of a man anyway. If I want to have a drink and a flirt, I'll have a drink and a flirt. And he went, why don't you just do one? You've had too much to drink and you're embarrassing yourself. And she went, I'm embarrassing myself. I'll do what I like when I like. No one tells me what to do. No one gets in my way. And she goes walking off. And the best thing about it as she walks off is I've clocked something's happened to that patio door. And as she storms in, all brash and brazen, she walks straight into the glass patio door and knocks herself virtually out on the floor. She didn't knock herself out because she made this hilarious noise of, as her face went up the thing and fell into a bush. She was absolutely fine. But the great thing about it is, that probably sounds quite funny to you or harsh, but the point is, the best bit about this is that whilst the conversation was ongoing, I'd actually seen somebody come and close the patio door. Like, that patio door had been open all night and had no reason to close, but somebody had come and closed it. And I'd seen it closed, and I'd seen her have a go at her boyfriend, and I'd seen her storm off like, you know, she was it, and I knew what was going to happen, and I didn't say anything. Would you? But also, it makes me laugh now, it was just the, you know, like those Beatles About, or Who's Been Framed, or what, home video bloopers or whatever. It was knowing it was going to happen, knowing they weren't going to happen, and the noise as she connected with it and went falling back into this bush. At the time, I always thought, you know, I always felt a little bit bad about it, but equal rights, you know, that's what people want. Anyway, and, you know, she probably didn't deserve it, but in a way, she was very rude and totally humiliated him in front of his friends and other girls there as well. So, you know, what goes around comes. She was absolutely fine. She was so drunk, it probably felt like hitting a bouncy castle. But the point is, you can think you can do what you want, but there are always invisible barriers, and we have you see what I did there? There are always invisible barriers, and we are living within those barriers at the moment. And I think people are lashing out. Like, the reality is, I know I mentioned Piers Morgan a lot, but he's one of the most vocal people we get in UK. He's not the only one. There's loads of them. They're gobbing off like they haven't got any barriers. They have. You know, if the government say, Piers, you know, you're not leaving your house, you're on lockdown. You're on lockdown, mate. You think you're bigger than everything because you've got a voice. You haven't. You haven't got a voice. We have got a voice, but you're not bigger than anything. We're going through something here together, and I think we need to do it together. That's what I think is really important. Because there will be mistakes made, and those will be the thing about these mistakes is that they will be reviewed afterwards. There'll be reports about this afterwards, and there definitely has been mistakes made. But I just think that from, you know, I remember the nights of I've mentioned this a couple of times because this is one of the biggest things that's happened in the UK in the last decades, was the riots that were happening in Manchester and London and Birmingham. And I was working that night. I've told this story before. I was working that night, and this really was a shock. I know riots have happened in the past, but this was really a shock. And I happened to be in the main control room where there was, you know, heads of fire service, ambulance, police, council, and to say it was a mess would be an understatement. To say there was a lack of leadership would be an understatement. It was a mess, but it got done. It got done, and I'm sure when they look back to that, they went, you know, we should have done this different, we should have done that different. And I'm not saying they did a bad job, because they didn't. They did a great job, but it wasn't coordinated, organised, because it was on the hoof and mistakes were made. And that's what happens in a crisis. The whole point about a crisis is that you actually head up the crisis and you face it up and you do what you can to stop it. And I think that's what's happening at the moment. And we can review the mistakes afterwards. Another thing that sort of bothers me a little bit is the desensitization towards the death numbers. I mean, when it was China and numbers, and even to a certain extent Italy and its numbers, and we're going, 600 today, and it's a number. And as somebody who's witnessed death and seen it because of the job that I've done, I always think that with death, it's like, just think of the family, the screaming, anguished family who lose somebody. And today, I think we've had only over 40. I didn't mean to say only 40, that's not what I meant. I mean over 40. And, you know, we're into the hundreds now. And that's over however many relatives and friends that are feeling that anguish and pain of these loss of lives, no matter how old they are or how young they are. So this number is going to really matter if it happens to somebody that you care about. It's not just going to be 80 something people died today, 40 something died yesterday. It's going to be personal, and that is why we're doing this. And I think we just need to keep reminding ourselves of that, instead of trying to be a bit sensationalist about it, because I think in this country we do have a way of desensitizing death. It's all sort of hidden in a way, isn't it? It's all in the morgue, in a coffin. Whereas I never forget being on holiday in Spain, and this was at the time when Al Qaeda were beheading people and stuff, and we were just sat there on holiday in Mallorca. Like, it was probably about 10:30 at night. We were just on the start of our night out, me and the wife, and we were just having a drink, and the local news was on the telly. And the next thing I know, I could see a bloody... you could basically saw what they did. Like, I was like, what? Did you just see that on the telly? And my wife actually did study over in Spain when she was in university, because she could speak Spanish, and she was like, that's not unnormal for them to put it on over here. That they don't cover it up like the UK media does. It's like they will show it. And I was like, it was traumatizing, because we're not used to that. And I think we are desensitized from death. And the reality is that I know what will happen, because I've seen it happen with myself in relation to the China numbers. When the death numbers start to come down, you start to think, well, that's good news, because it's starting to come down. But those people are still dying. There's still people dying every day. So we need to be conscious of that, not in a way that to be morbid, but in a way to be, this is real. This could happen to any of us, and what we're doing totally is for the right reason. Now let's bring it into a personal thing. My day today, I actually at times today I felt okay. I was like, I'm getting a bit of structure into my day. Again, I did my United Stand show for the morning. Then I was spending time with the kids cutting the grass and doing some stuff outside. Lunchtime, lunch together. Afternoon, I did the video that's going to go up with Robbie. We recorded that together through Skype. Then I did FIFA, more time with the family out on a walk, tea together, and then relax a little bit, and then United Stand show, and then relax again, watch some TV and stuff, and go to bed. And that structure for the day, whilst it's not a normal day for me, it's starting to get into structure. And I just try to block out the fact that I can't really go out of my house and my garden. I mean, we did go for our one walk, and it's great to see that people, when we're on a walk, will cross over to the other side of the road if there's an opportunity to do that. So people are being sensible, and I said it to the wife when we was out on a walk. It's really interesting, isn't it? Because at the weekend, when we went for a walk to the park, and we were basically with the dogs, we went on the dog track, we were nowhere near everybody else, but you could see everybody else on the park, and all having a chat, dads with hands on the hips while the kids pushing them on the, literally right next to each other. Whereas tonight when I was out on walking on the street, just to get some exercise, people are actually not coming anywhere near you. So this is a big thumbs up. People are really taking it seriously and are understanding what this is all about, which I think is really important. But the only thing I would say about today, and I don't know whether anyone else is feeling it, I just feel tired today. I do feel tired today, and I don't know whether it must be mentally tired, because physically I'm not doing anywhere near as much as I used to, and that's something I do need to get to work on over the next couple of weeks. But I think you've got to take it in stages, really. You've got to, if you can sort out your morning routine, tomorrow you can sort out your afternoon routine, then you do the full day. Try and keep your week... I mean, I keep thinking it's Wednesday today, and it's not, it's Tuesday, which is a little bit depressing, because you think, well, why am I thinking a day ahead? But trying to keep the weekends and the weekdays separate, I think, is really important. I really wish the takeaways were open from a selfish point of view, because that would be nice to say, let's have a Saturday night takeaway. Not with Ant and Deck, don't like them. But, I understand why takeaways must close. And I don't know whether they all have or they haven't. You get mixed messages on that, but it appears that they have. But yeah, I think it's definitely not going to be a bed of roses. I accept that, and I think, everybody accepts that, and it's I know there's a lot of people watching these videos now who didn't used to, because I only used to do it once a week, even if I did those. But I do think that mental health is very important, and some people think mental health and they think you've got problems. Mental health is like your physical health. It's like the health of your finger. It's like the health of your wrist. Not like that, but you know what I mean. Mental health doesn't mean you've got mental health problems. It's your health of your mental state. So this is very important. And how we deal with that is important, and I think you can't box it up. I found myself today washing the pots, and I was looking out the window, and it was a nice evening, and I was like, beer garden, and I just thought, beer garden, nice pint, proper pint. And I've got beer in the fridge, I've got beer in the garage, but I haven't. But there's a difference between a can of beer and a draft beer. Anybody who drinks beer will tell you that, and. To think that I can't do that for however long, and the weather's nice, is quite it's not. I know why it's happening. I know why it's happening, and I totally am on board with it. I'm not bitter. Pardon the pun. I don't drink bitter. I drink lager. Thanks. I'm not bitter about it, but I am sorrowful in a way, you know, because these things have been taken away, and that's sad. But that's fine to feel a little bit sad about it, and it's fine that you've got to adjust to it. And it'd be interesting how we do adjust to it, because we've got to adjust to it. And I think that, you know, it's not as claustrophobic as I thought. You know, at the end of the day, you can walk outside, you can get some fresh air. As I said, the fitness thing's a bit annoying because you can't really, you know, you can go for one run, but people are doing a lot more than that. And I think about, you know, my normal day would be take my middle daughter to school, keep walking to take Seb to the childminder, walk back. That's about 45 minutes fast walking on top of maybe other fitness stuff I would do that I'm just not getting. So it's that rotation of that's probably why it's quite tiring, really, because you're just doing a lot of things that you probably wouldn't do. I'm probably rambling a little bit myself, but I'm trying to give a fair reflection of where I am day to day. But ultimately a good day. I've, you know, on a positive note, there's loads of things that I've, as I said yesterday, that I've put off, that I haven't done. And even like today, yesterday I cut the grass on the front. Today I cut the grass in the back. Cleared the garage yesterday morning. Today, like, trimmed round and bagged everything up and cleared the back garden a bit. Tomorrow going to wash the cars. Well, even if I just did those things every 2 weeks, that's outside time, isn't it? But I've got loads of other things to do as well. And then when you think about, like, your TV, I love TV and I love film and I always have done, and I like TV series. And there's loads. I mean, I could ask for recommendations in here. In fact, let's do that. In the comments, put your top 5 recommendations for TV series, whether it's Prime, Netflix, whatever, because that will give people stuff that they haven't had time to watch. I mean, I've still got Sopranos to watch, and Sopranos is on Now TV, which I have. And Sopranos, even if I started watching it tonight, I wouldn't finish it before this isolation thing's over. So you can think like that. You can think that's you know, you might never have watched Game of Thrones, or you might have watched it and you want to watch it again. If you start watching that now, you're probably not going to get through it all by the time where this is relaxed a little bit. So, you know, there's all that. And also, you know what? I'm a 90s kid. I'm a late 80s kid in many ways. And I was even the other day looking on YouTube at Saint and Greavesy, and people were like, Saint and what? They used to have a lunchtime show that I used to watch about football, and loads of those are on YouTube anyway. So you can go all nostalgic as well. So it's just about occupying your mind. And you know what? Actually, we live very busy lives, whether we're at school, at work, or whatever. We live busy lives. And I'll put my hand up and say this. Time can go by so quick. I can have a list of things and I can come to the end of the month and I've done 3 or 4 of them. Well, right now is the opportunity to tick loads of those things off and be more efficient with things that need to be done. And that's a positive. And maybe we'll learn that when we go back to the busy life, that maybe that life doesn't need to be that busy, and maybe we merge the two, where over the next few weeks we get loads of those things done that we needed to get done, and we maintain doing them things back as a busy life, but we're not so busy. As a society and as people, we might come out of this in a very different way, because I've always felt in the UK we do work to live a lot, and maybe we live to work a lot, sorry, and maybe we need to be a bit more work to live. And I think that maybe people will come out of this more, you know, focused on that, and that would be a positive in many ways. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. Smash a like on the video, and I will speak to you all very soon. Back again tomorrow. Also, you can check out Mark Goldbridge That's Football, that went up today, FIFA career mode, and United Stand. And tomorrow, actually, let me just say, 1 o'clock on the United Stand tomorrow. You know, why not? We're all at home. DT and Goldbridge live on the United Stand. Forget loose women, we've got loose men. Loose lips men, I mean. We're going to be talking all sorts of things, and there'll be a live chat as well. So thanks for watching. Speak to you all soon.